Welcome in, everybody. Tonight's deep dive is all about creating a better bedtime routine for, well, better sleep. And I'm really excited to be exploring this topic with you tonight because we've got a really interesting combination of sources. We're going to be looking at some of the latest sleep science, but also some wisdom from a Himalayan mystic. So kind of an unusual pairing, but I think you'll see as we get into it that sometimes the best insights come from those unexpected places, right?
Absolutely.
What's really cool about this deep dive is we're not just talking about getting more sleep. We're talking about really unlocking the power of quality sleep. So I think, sharper focus, brighter moods, even a stronger immune system. And then the mystic kind of adds this whole other layer talking about inner peace and vitality.
It's true. We often really underestimate just how essential good sleep is for our well-being. And, science is really clear on this, that adults need a solid 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night.
Hmm.
And it's not just about, feeling rested. During sleep, your body is literally doing all this repair work. It's repairing tissues. It's consolidating memories. It's regulating all those crucial hormones.
Yeah, it's like a nightly tune-up for your whole system.
Exactly.
And, I think we all know when we don't get enough quality sleep, it really does show up in so many ways, whether it's trouble concentrating or mood swings or even, getting sick more often. I know I've definitely been there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and this is really where this whole idea of a consistent bedtime routine comes in. And it's really fascinating is that research has shown that having a regular routine actually sends a signal to your brain that it's time to wind down. So it makes it so much easier to fall asleep and to stay asleep, which of course leads to better overall sleep quality.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like really setting the stage for a restful night.
Exactly.
Now, this idea of aligning with natural rhythms is something that the Himalayan mystic emphasizes too. And there's this really thought-provoking quote from the mystic that I wanted to share. They say, 1 hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2 hours after. What do you make of that?
It's a really intriguing idea, and I think it really speaks to this concept of our circadian rhythm, that
Hmm.
internal clock that dictates our natural sleep-wake cycle. And it's remarkable how, ancient wisdom often really does align with what modern science is discovering, of course, in our modern world with artificial light and, late night schedules and all of that. Getting to bed, super early isn't always realistic,
Hmm.
but it does highlight the importance of paying attention to those natural rhythms as much as we can.
Right. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
So the mystic doesn't just stop there. They also recommend a practice called evening surrender, which is really about kind of mentally preparing for this deep rest.
I think this is such a beautiful example of how the mystic's approach addresses not just the physical aspects of sleep, but also the mental and emotional aspects. And by letting go of the day's stresses and really quieting the mind, we can create the ideal conditions for a truly restful night's sleep.
Okay, so how does this evening surrender work in practice?
Well, it's actually quite simple. The mystics suggest finding a quiet space, a few minutes before bed, closing your eyes,
Hmm.
focusing on your breath, and then repeating the mantra, I release what no longer serves me.
That's such a powerful image, like releasing what no longer serves you. Almost feels like a mental decluttering before
Hmm.
bed.
Hmm.
And I can really see how that would tie in nicely with what science tells us about signaling to the brain that it's time to wind down.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about creating space for a more peaceful night's sleep.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, creating space.
Hmm.
All right, so let's kind of shift gears a little bit and really dive into the practical side of things here. How can we actually build a bedtime routine that combines the best of science and the mystic's wisdom?
I love that. Blending the scientific and the spiritual, for better sleep.
Right.
So where do we start? Well, one of the most powerful things you can do is set a consistent sleep schedule.
So going to bed and waking up around the same time each day, even on weekends.
Exactly. It might sound simple,
Hmm.
but it is incredibly effective. By sticking to a regular schedule, you're actually reinforcing your natural circadian rhythm, that internal clock that the mystic was talking about. And this makes it so much easier to fall asleep and wake up feeling refreshed. I remember when I started really paying attention to my sleep schedule, I was amazed at what a difference it made.
Yeah, consistency is key, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What else can we do to kind of set ourselves up for success here?
Well, this is where this idea of a wind down ritual comes in,
Hmm.
dedicating like 30 to 60 minutes before bed, where you're really transitioning from, the busyness of your day into a more relaxed state. The mystic recommends things like gentle stretching or taking a warm bath. Both are great ways to kind of ease tension and promote relaxation.
That makes a lot of sense. And I got to say, a warm bath before bed is definitely one of my favorite ways to unwind. But I know in our digital age, there's one thing we should probably avoid during our wind down time, right?
You got screens.
Screens.
Yes, that blue light that's emitted from our phones and computers and TVs, it actually suppresses melatonin production,
Yeah.
which is that hormone that helps regulate your sleep cycle.
So even if we're just, scrolling through social media or watching like a relaxing show, that can actually interfere with our sleep.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
That blue light is basically tricking your brain into thinking it's still daytime, which makes it much harder to fall asleep and get that really good quality rest.
It's amazing how much we're learning about the science of sleep. Okay, so screens are out. What about our sleep environment? Does that matter?
Absolutely. This is really where that mystic's emphasis on a serene environment comes into play. So you want to think cool, dark, and quiet. Your bedroom should really be a sanctuary for sleep. I always recommend, making sure your room is well ventilated and at a comfortable temperature. A good blackout curtain can do wonders for blocking out any unwanted light. And earplugs can be a lifesaver if you live in a noisy area.
Yeah, it's like creating this cozy little sleep cave.
Exactly.
So we've got the routine, we've got the wind down ritual, we've got the perfect sleep environment. Is there anything else we should keep in mind?
Well, we can't forget about what we eat and drink.
Mm.
It's best to avoid stimulants like caffeine and alcohol at least 4 to 6 hours before bed. They can really disrupt your sleep cycles and prevent you from getting that really restful sleep.
Yeah, that late night coffee is tempting sometimes, but probably not worth the sleep disruption.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else we should be mindful of?
Well, the mystic also really highlights the importance of digestion. So having a light early dinner allows for proper digestion,
Mm.
and it prevents your body from, being overly active when it should be winding down.
It's all about working with our body's natural rhythms, right?
Exactly.
Now, before we move on to putting all this into practice, I want to touch on one more thing that the mystic mentioned, which is the power of intention, like setting an intention.
This is where the mystic's wisdom really shines.
Yeah.
They talk about incorporating a mantra into your bedtime routine, repeating a positive affirmation or a phrase that really resonates with you as you prepare for bed. And this can have a really powerful effect on your mindset.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, we have a mantra that's inspired by the mystic's teachings that we wanted to share with you. It's, I honor my rest, for it is the foundation of my vitality.
I love that.
Repeating this as you drift off to sleep, I think, can really help shift your perspective, transforming sleep from this mere necessity into a cherished practice, recognizing its profound impact on your overall well-being.
It's a beautiful way to end the day and welcome a rejuvenating night's sleep.
It is. Yeah, it really is like shifting that mindset, right? From sleep being just something we have to do to something we get to do, a way to really nourish and care for ourselves. But I know what you might be thinking out there listening. This all sounds amazing, but where do I even begin?
That's such a good question. And the truth is, you don't have to do everything at once. Think of it like trying a new recipe. You don't have to buy every single ingredient at the store.
Right.
Just pick 1 or 2 things that really resonate with you and start experimenting with those. Maybe you start with, setting a consistent sleep schedule or incorporating that evening surrender practice that we talked about.
I like that start small and build from there. I think sometimes we get so overwhelmed when we try to change too much all at once.
Absolutely.
So just, 1 or 2 things at a time.
Yeah. And remember, consistency is key. Even small changes done consistently over time can make a huge difference in your sleep quality and how you feel overall.
It's like anything else, right? Those small, consistent actions really do add up.
They do.
So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into the world of bedtime routines, I want to go back to something that we talked about at the very beginning. It's not just about sleeping better, it's about living better.
Yes, such a powerful reminder.
We've explored how aligning with our natural rhythms, like the Himalayan mystic suggests, and truly honoring our need for rest can really have a ripple effect on our entire lives. We feel sharper, we feel more balanced, even more resilient to stress.
Absolutely.
It's really amazing to see how the science and the mystic's wisdom really kind of complement each other, each offering these valuable insights into the power of sleep. So as we finish up tonight, I want to leave you with this question to kind of ponder. What small change are you inspired to make tonight to start building a better bedtime routine for yourself? Maybe it's putting your phone away an hour before bed or trying out that mantra we shared. Remember, every journey begins with a single step.
And better sleep isn't a luxury. It's an essential ingredient for a healthier, happier, and more fulfilling life. Sweet dreams.